And we are back. Oh wow, it's been 2 weeks since I've done one of these, and also 2 weeks since I've actually done a video. I've been on a little bit of a business trip for those of you who were watching the Counter-Strike Global Offensive Major. I was working on that, so you're welcome for those of you who enjoyed that. For those of you who didn't, well, you can always Google that. I am Katowice, that's the one you want to look for. Anyway, it's time for yet another Dev Diary. The developers have been very busy in the last few months, especially after the release of 2.2. And now we've got a couple of steps. Obviously, we had a bunch of patches in 2.2.1, 2.2.2, etc. And now we've arrived at 2.2.6. Where is this gonna go? Well, we don't know at this point, but there is quite a lot of stuff that we can go over, and by itself, there's a lot of very cool stuff, especially if you are of the robotic kind. Last time we had a lot of boosts for the driven exterminators, and this time it looks like more robots will get boosts. Let's dive right into the patch highlights. Planetary interface has been polished up, and you can also access the version now. And also it looks like it will be available on May the 9th. So there you go. Anyway, actually, so May the 9th, actually the release date, sorry. Thursday, March 7th. So that's the day this video comes out. So you should already be having access to it. Regardless, planetary interface has been polished, looks a lot nicer now. Fleets, this is actually a bigly one. Fleets will now upgrade ships individually. So if you cancel midway, the percentage of ships that have been upgraded will be the same as the percentage that was on the upgrade counter. So what happened before is if you would cancel your upgrade, basically what happened would be that none of your ships would be upgraded, and basically you would waste all of your time, and especially when you're refitting your ships to counter something specific. This is a huge deal. Also, you will be using multiple shipyards, so if you want to go to a place, a central location to upgrade your ships quickly, or you have multiple systems with multiple yards, split your fleets and move them over there and then merge them together for even faster upgrades. And that one right there is rather amazing. A bunch of Civics and Ascension perks have been changed. There have been a lot of tweets going out from the good old game design lead, and basically there will be more updates for this as time progresses, and we will dive a little bit deeper into that later on. But yeah, Ascension perks completely being overhauled, a bunch of really cool ones that we will talk about as well. There's a new military AI in the works, which is stronger, better, harder, faster, and the more feedback people will give, the better it will get. I'm sure that a certain mod developer, Glavius, has been working with the developers on this one. And of course, quality of life improvements, large amount of bugs squashed, and yeah, there you go. Anyway, 2.2.6, let's dive right in. We last time we talked about 2.2.5, which you will find in the video history. Regardless, no longer important. We are going to dive into the important bits. There it is, 2.2.6, nicely commented out here, boys, very good. Le Guin, free features, same stuff, we've already discussed this at length. Actually, we haven't, because the last time we talked about this was 2.2.5. Yeah, 2.2 Le Guin, new features, new planetary screen, which is better organized, more details, better info, etc. Ship upgrading is handled independently. We already talked about that a little bit. There is one note here as well, and I think you can actually get a lot more resources back. So now it's even cheaper to upgrade. In the past, you would only get 50% of resources back. Now it's 90, I believe. But that right there is a pretty good one. Warrior Culture Civic now no longer reduces army upkeep, but instead makes entertainment buildings replace entertainers with duelists. Duelists turn 1 alloy into 3 unity, 12 amenities, and 2 naval capacity. Pretty good if you don't want to spam fortresses everywhere, and yeah, especially with Warrior Culture, you'll be able to boost your naval capacity quite quickly. 1 alloy into 3 unity and 12 amenities is actually quite good, but it's a naval capacity one that you really want, let's be honest here. But it's pretty much a replacement, effectively, for the fortress buildings. Then again, it's the entertainment forum and the hyper entertainment forum, I believe. So you will have duelist jobs coming in. So that's kind of nice. Add a logistical corps tradition custom flavor. Yeah, that's not really all that interesting. Great game tradition custom flavor for devouring swarms, and a new animation to plantoids. Number 13, the cactus portraits. We have added butterflies. Let's quickly pop down to it because there it is. Look at that. It's got. Hold on, let me zoom in here. There we go. There it is. Butterflies. Ain't that just something delightful? I kind of hope that this would be more of a thing of if you're a baddie or a goodie. If you're plus with somebody, it's butterflies, and if it's minuses, it's like black flies or something. But that would probably go a little bit too much in the realm of black and white, which by itself is a good game, and you should definitely play. Anyway, balance. Pop growth has been further adjusted to put less priorities towards minority groups, which is good, of course. When a species can only grow on that planet, let's say that you have a minority group that can only be populated on a savanna world, then of course that minority group will still grow. It really depends, but it will basically push priority onto population that can grow on that planet more effectively. So that right there is nice. Battle thralls can now take enforcer jobs, so no longer will thrall worlds be a huge pain in the ass to actually properly use. Hallucinogenic removal special project. Okay, so the hallucinogenic special project has to do with the hallucinogenic modifier that sits on a planet. It's highly annoying. It really reduces productivity on a planet. Basically, the population is too busy getting high all the friggin' time, and you want to get rid of the hallucinogenic stuff quite quickly. And it's been reduced from 5,000 to 3,000. Only in Malice, as far as I can see. I think initially you get a couple of pluses, but overall it's a minus, so you kind of want to remove it as fast as possible. I would really like them to see to actually turn hallucinogenic effects into something a little bit more practical, like some sort of special building. You still get a negative modifier on the planet, but eventually you can build a building that increases happiness over the entire empire, like maybe increase immunities or something along those lines. That'd be nice. Breaching the Shroud, special project reduced from 50,000 to 20,000. Basically, it's been halved. As soon as you go for the Ascension perk for that one, you'll be able to get the Shroud a lot quicker. So that's nice. Transcendent Learning Ascension perk effect on leader pool has been removed and replaced with a leader experience gain bonus of 50%. So basically, effect on leader pool has been removed. I don't exactly remember what it was in the past. We effectively don't have a leader pool anymore. Maybe it was a cost modifier, that it was cheaper or something along those lines, or a higher level cap or something along those lines, which it still is, I believe. I think it's a +2 level cap. You get at least your leader's experience gain increases, which in combination with the Polytechnic education tradition, it's actually kind of nice. You can get your leaders to ridiculous high levels very quickly. That in combination with, say, assisting technology research and that sort of thing can make your leaders pretty damn crazy good. And especially if you have fleeting species that you have difficulty with getting a lot of XP on before they die, this is actually kind of good. But of course, in the late game, it's still useful to have leaders with high experience in case you want to come into cross of any sort of anomalies you've missed, or like I mentioned, with the assisting of research and all that jazz. Maybe also with leaders getting higher levels of level, as interesting as that sound. But in that particular case, what you can also do is you can put them on tech, they learn faster, they research faster, etc. These are all like effects that have serious impact. So don't underestimate this. This is actually pretty good. Is it as good as the other ones? Well, that remains to be seen. Reduced the machine empire bonus to orbital station production to 10%, was 50%, which turned out to be rather OP. So there was a problem. Some machine empires before would get a 50% bonus on output on stations. This will basically translate in general. Let's say you have a station that outputs 2, then it will get a +1. So if you would go for systems with a lot of resources from single locations, you could get an insane amount of energy, research, mineral output, and that right there is something that has been nerfed into the ground. Probably for the best. It was pretty OP, and your economy could get out of control very, very quickly. Rogue Servitors, one type of species I have actually never played, and that is true. I've never played as a Rogue Servitor before. It just not really, yeah, there's no draw for me, really. I really should do it one day. Organic Sanctuary Paradise no longer provides housing. Instead, any biotrophies that are working there will no longer need housing. So that's kind of nice, which means that you can lower the amount of housing in your planet and actually focus on biotrophy, etc., which is kind of nice. Artisan drones produce 8 consumer goods for 8 minerals, up from 6 of each. Interesting. So a general boost to artisan drones. Basically, you need less artisan drones in total, but they'll still consume the same amount of resources in the grand scheme. It just means that instead of producing 6 for 6, they produce 8 for 8, which by itself means you need less robots to actually deal with things. Biotrophy jobs now also increase complex drone put. That's probably supposed to be output on their planet by 0.525% each. That can stack up pretty quickly. If you have enough biotrophies, then complex drones can get their output increased by really significant amounts. And in this particular case, you would only need 4 for 1%, so 40 for 10%, etc. So that by itself is pretty doable, I would say, and 10% bonus is pretty big. Of course, that is a what-if scenario, but it's kind of nice. They start also with 1 additional Nexus district. Then assimilators have been tweaked. Biopop growth reduced by 40%. So biopops for driven assimilators are their cyborg pops. The driven assimilators usually, well, they start out with biopops that are part of their species, and they will not grow nearly as quickly, which means the robots by themselves will grow quicker as well. 1 field replicator job per level per capital, just a slight nerf. They get 100 food, 100 less energy. You can trade that off. It's like 50-50 or something like that. So that's not a real big deal, especially when dealing with the internal market. Ship upgrades are cheaper due to a refund amount of old components being increased to 90%. 90%! You almost get the full value of your own old components back, which was 50 in the past. I'm sure a lot of people didn't realize that you actually get a refund on your old components. So you can actually take more expensive ships and then retrofit them into cheaper ones. That's a thing. And this is why ship trading could be really exploity, to say the least. There's to say the least. Well, you gotta get 1 per video. Pops have wider possibilities of political power, so for example, you can care less about unhappy slaves since it's not like you can vote for anything. Yeah, it's very true. Meritocracy civic effect on leader pool size removed, and wow, that's nice. So again, there's no leader pool size bonus anywhere in the game anymore. Now it's just a specialist output plus 10%, which is nice. Specialist, of course, output all the good stuff. Meritocracy, 10% bonus on specialists, especially if you're on a nuke monopolist or something like that. That right there is nice, with all those alloy jobs and stuff like that. That could be incredibly good. Clone VATs. So clone VATs in the past were exclusively part of the Gene Banks tech. The Gene Banks check, I believe, is only part of the biological ascension perk, although I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, you needed to build clone armies, and in the past you couldn't get those if you didn't have the Gene Banks tech. So they, oh no, actually, sorry, it was the biological ascension now unlocked by the Gene Banks tech. Okay, that's the one right there. But I see apparently simulators can now build them as well, because that clearly makes sense. Technological Ascendancy Ascension perk now makes rare technologies 50% more common. Very nice if you're trying to aim for those megastructure builds and you don't have a megastructure within your empire and you desperately are looking for that tech. That one right there is incredibly useful. Especially maybe also for like psionic tech, I guess. If you're a materialist and you have a maniacal researcher and you want to get that psionic technology, this could actually become very powerful very quickly. Shroud entities have been tweaked. Corrupted avatars lower HP but higher regen, which means that you just need to alpha it in order to kill it. Shroud avatar is now slightly stronger. Same thing. End of cycle entities have also been tweaked similarly. If only the end of cycle entities would actually roam around and kill stuff, that'd be really nice. Rather than in their systems where they were generated by the population that were there locally. That's annoying. Transcendence, Evolutionary Mastery, and Synthetic Evolution Ascension perk reduced from 4th to 3rd, so you can actually get your Transcendence a lot earlier. From 4th to 3rd is a huge deal. From 4th to 3rd, damn. You can get them a lot earlier. Especially with Evolutionary Mastery, that can be incredibly powerful. You also have a Transcendence. Getting access to Shroud early and getting any sort of boons out of it, or a chosen one, is incredibly good. And Synthetic Evolution, you can turn your people into little robots, I guess, so that's nice. World Shaper Ascension perks has been reduced. Ooh, interesting. So you can get your Gaia worlds a lot earlier and actually get bonuses to terraforming a lot earlier in the game. Interesting. Imperial Prerogative Ascension perk no longer has any slot requirements, so it's a first slot. I believe Imperial Prerogative is, I want to say, the one that gives you more Empire Sprawl. Like it's plus 50 or something like that, but yeah. Eternal Vigilance, same there, but it does require Star Fortress. Okay. So soon, Eternal Vigilance basically gives you more fortresses, or I believe it gives you more stations, defense stations on said fortresses. Okay, it also increases Starbase hull points by 25%. One Vision Ascension perk now reduces pop immunity uses by 10%. So not only do you get a ridiculous boost to unity output, it also reduces the amount of amenities that pops will use. That makes One Vision a very good first option. Especially if you want to get through the tradition tree very quickly, One Vision is definitely a good first stop on your ascension list. Numismatic Shrine now costs 4,000 energy to buy and 1,000 minerals to build. So the Numismatic Shrine was not only OP AF, the building itself is very strong, but it was also free. It was free to build before. It's been nerfed into the ground. Numismatic Shrine is amazing. As a building, it's really good. It gives you a bunch of priest jobs, I believe, and a bunch of merchants. But yeah, for 1,000 minerals, that's a lot of return of investment right there. Clerks and preacher jobs no longer care about being weak, strong, or proles. That makes sense. Minor jobs do care about being proles. Okay. I'm not particularly specific whether or not proles are more used or not. Synth empires only use alloys for colony ships. Makes perfect sense. If you're synthetic, why would you need food or consumer goods? UI, there's a bunch of stuff. Added shortcut U to upgrade Starbase platforms. Nice. Upgrade U. An upgrade and shortcut for upgrading ships. Well, that's really useful. And trade route interface. Nice. So we can actually very quickly, without having to go to the little button at the bottom of the screen. That's good. Strategic resources summary will now show in red if you're in deficit. And devastation, yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look here at AI. Big rework of AI, making it a lot smarter. Makes perfect sense. AI is not maniacal about crime and can build 3 precinct houses on every planet. Yes, that was a problem. Especially, this actually means that going with the criminal church is actually really doable now. Because in the past, you just couldn't use it very well, or at least any of the criminal megacorps. Because you would just build your office somewhere, and instantly it would be wiped out because of the precinct houses that the AI would just spam everywhere. So that's nice. A bunch of stuff around alloys, better focusing, rogue servitors. Less keen on building organic sanctuaries unless Biotrophy needs them. Yeah, that makes sense. They will build less ground armies. Yeah, they were producing way too many. I've seen massive fleets of ground armies floating around that they could have used on ships instead. Then again, I do believe that armies are being made out of minerals and not alloys, so that's an interesting there. AI will no longer obsessively shuffle scientists from one role to another. Okay. I prefer city districts over housing, building. Yeah, that makes sense. That means that they will allocate more space to other buildings. You only have so many slots anyway. Performance! Removed redundant double calculations related to endgame crisis and cause them to very negatively affect late game performance. Great stuff! Reordered some operations in the invasion calculations to make them more expensive on them. Last, there's a bunch of modding stuff here. Let's take a look if we have anything that is particularly amusing. Winning an ideology war will no longer override the defeated empire civics, and they will turn them into an ally instead, which is good. Makes life a little bit easier for you. Conquering hollow theaters. Yep. Oh, basically buildings that they have no use for. That makes perfect sense. The Shattered Loop event, firing twice. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Some wording stuff. Added basics. Row income to... Ooh, wow. Interesting. Added the basics. Row income to spiritualist fallen empires. Oh, right. They couldn't actually reinforce their fleets properly because they had no row. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Well, okay, that's 2.2.6. Now we get all the good stuff. So what is the future going to bring for Stellaris? Stellaris has obviously been in production for quite some time, as they say at the top here, May 9th, 2016, so for quite some time. So, what is to be expected in the future? Well, in the future, they want to do quite a lot of stuff, but there's a couple of things that are popping out here. Pop growth and sectors, etc., are going to be overhauled yet again. I think that's the 4th time now, so that's at least a good thing. In the meantime, there are some bigger, quote-unquote, boxes that need to be tackled as well. So in the past, we had the military system upgrade back in 2.0. We had the economy in 2.2, and maybe 2.4 or 2.5. We will see the diplomatic update. Now, what do we want to see here in the future? What do the devs want to see? This is obviously not a complete list. Some of this stuff has been in this list for quite some time. For instance, the Galactic Council stuff, Space UN, with galactic politics and diplomacy. I think that has been on this list since 1.3 or something along those lines. But we can go through this. Pop growth, reworking immigration, growth across planets, more interesting, etc. Sectors and automation. Bring it back to the old system, please, because this was terrible. Backgrounds. Okay, so this is a cool one. So more civics and more backgrounds. So civics going to go into background categories and add more backgrounds, which means more civics. More time making civics feel unique to play. I love civics. Civics are great. Having things like any of the permanent civics, like mechanists, for instance, is great. More stuff like that is good. Institutions. Now, this is an interesting one. Internal departments such as Diplo Corps, Xeno Bureau, etc., including funding, size, and power. This very much feels like an extension of the faction system, which I think would be really, really cool. And this right here is something that we can expect in the diplomacy upgrade. Espionage, intel determined, how much you know of another empire, spy action, cloaking, sabotage, and general mischief. The developers have already stated in the past that espionage is by far the most difficult thing for them to tackle, and they're really not looking forward to it, apparently. Then this one, religion and cults. We're going to go full CK2, apparently. Similar to factions, cults can now appear in your empire during certain circumstances. Spiritualist empires will likely have imperial cults, worship of powerful entities, etc. I'm really looking forward to having cults spring up for that worship the dreadnought that sits in the local space. Really looking forward to that. Archaeology. Explore the ruins of ancient civilizations. One thing that this game has, there's one particular thing that I absolutely love, and that is the Worm in Waiting event. It's one of the best, thought out event chain in the game. It's long, it has a lot of steps, it has a lot of different types of outcomes, if you go the wrong way that is, and different bonuses depending on what you do. More of that sort of thing, please. This archaeology thing, great. Absolutely amazing. More of this sort of stuff. Give me more bonuses. Even like in Gulic's planetary modifiers with archaeology, he does a lot of that sort of thing. And I really want to see more of that stuff. Subject contracts. Allow overlords to better customize what type of subjects they have. Tributary levels, benefits to subjects, etc. So let's say you have high tribute levels, there's a bigger chance of uprising, that sort of thing. Federation depth, different election types, taxes, think Holy Roman Empire basically. Galactic Council, and more primitives. allow for more interaction with primitive pre-FTLs. So yeah, that's that right there is an interesting one. But yeah, okay, so 2.2.6. By the time that this video comes out, it will be available for you to enjoy, and I highly recommend for you to go and have a play around with it. And yeah, sorry it's been a little while since the video came out. I've been away, but we're back now. Well, gotta get married first, but then we're back. But yeah, in the meantime, if you have any comments or notes, then feel free to leave them below. But until next time, take good care of yourselves, and as always, each other.